Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast. I'm your host, Anish Gupta.
And I'm your host, Srikar.
Week one is in the books. So you know what that means? A back-to-back week episode for like the first time in
Finally.
a really long time. But yeah, when the season's back, so are we. So obviously, we're gonna break down some of the stuff that went down. And honestly, you want to just get right into it, like.
Yeah, let's go.
No
There's
time
too
for small
much.
talk.
Yeah.
NFL is back, so we got to be back. Obviously, we're gonna start off with a quick Monday night recap about something that I never thought I would have to say, but I do. Aaron Rodgers suffered the worst injury of his career, a torn tendon in his left Achilles, and will be out for the year indefinitely. Usually, those type of injuries are a 12 to 15 month recovery. So I'm really, really hoping for the best. Shriek, you want to maybe detail like what it means for the Jets? Maybe touch on that, maybe what it means for A-Rod, and I can kind of go from there.
Yeah, in terms of the injury itself, I mean, this is absolutely devastating, right? For not only the Jets, but also for Rodgers himself. Like, now there's so many possibilities open as to what he's going to do after this. Could this force him into retirement? Will he, have that fighting spirit like he always does and come back, prove people wrong, and, come back for another year with the Jets? I think there's so many options on the table. I'm not going to predict that, obviously. I just don't think that's my place. But for the Jets, Robert Saleh has instilled confidence in Zach Wilson as the team starter moving forward. I don't think that's a good idea. I think you gotta look at the veterans available. I was telling Anish, I think Carson Wentz is. He agrees to. I think Carson Wentz is the best fit for this Jets team as they go
Yep.
forward. If they wanted to go the trade route, maybe someone like Davis Mills, maybe someone like Case Keenum. I know they're trying to look at Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, Drew Lock. I mean, there's guys available, right? So no matter how you look at it, they want to roll with Zach Wilson. But will he really make it the whole season? I don't think so. I just don't think Zach Wilson is a very good quarterback. So if average quarterback play is what the Jets need to get to the playoffs, right, as everyone says, then I think your best bet is Carson Wentz and hoping that he maintains a steady level of play, even though he is a huge roller coaster ride. But hey, I think he's the best option you got.
Honestly, for being real, I think Carson gives you a little too much bad. So obviously the fan in me really wants it. But I'm gonna be realistic. I think there are some other options out there. But yeah, what it means for the Jets, I think just first of all, it's like such a big blow and I think for NFL fans out there, Aaron Rodgers is kind of the last of that, previous generation, that pre 2017 kind of era, right? And obviously we were kind of hoping strong for him to kind of resurmount his top five presence, and we're just not going to see that. I think a lot of people were also excited for this new chapter in his career, right? He'd been 18 years at one place. What we could see for similar to Tom Brady, a lot of people thought Aaron Rodgers could do the same thing. It didn't happen. So another thing is also, right, yeah, as you mentioned, is he even going to come back? I mean, this dude was contemplating retirement for the last 2 years. This Achilles recovery is not going to be easy. It's probably the hardest recovery he's going to have. I think the next major injury he's ever had is a collarbone, which happened twice, but familiarity with it, like it's usually a 6 to 8 week recovery. This is a lot longer than that. He's also, yeah, turning 41 next year. It's going to be really tough. And then not only that, he's due 75 million guaranteed. So what do the Jets want to do front office wise, right? Like, do you want to keep him for, the foreseeable future? I know he's guaranteed money next year, but like, where do you go from there, right? How does the money now get fluctuated, right? So that's also a question to be brought up. And then for the Jets, man, I mean, like, you're in the exact same space you were last year. The defense held up exactly how we expected it to be. Breece Hall looked really good off the injury. Again, knock on wood, he stays the same way. I think obviously he's going to play tougher defenses, but he looked really efficient. Dalvin Cook was good, a great compliment, right? Garrett Wilson was making plays as he would. I mean, but again, you're in the same hole, right? Like Zach Wilson was not good, flat out bad, right? He put his team in bad spots, and that was the problem. So we had spent months, literally 6 to 8 months, hyping this team, all for it to be at the exact same spot they were. So I think that's kind of the worst thing about the Jets. Yeah, I think and then as for A-Rod, I really don't know. I mean, like this is like 12 months we're gonna have to wait for him to even be back on the field. So like an Achilles is just so hard to predict and kind of like, extenuate maybe predictions for, as I was saying, because look, it's the I think it's the worst injury you could have possibly had here. Like ACL is 9 months. I think
100%.
we've steadily increased medical procedure for that. Achilles though, yeah, I think that one's the worst, especially because you can't put weight on the foot, and for a quarterback, that's super important. But yeah, moving on, we're going to start kind of recapping the Sunday games. I think let's first go into a team that had some iffy expectations, but held the highest paid player in NFL history to 82 yards. They held the supposed best wide receiver trio to 55 yards total. So 3 players eclipsed 55. And T. Higgins, who I was told by a lot of people is the best wide receiver 2 in football, and obviously it's hard to disagree. 0 catches on 8 targets with a single penalty, no penalty. So that team was the Cleveland Browns, who won 24-3. And as for me, wow, what a game. I mean, I've spent months kind of talking about Jim Schwartz and that defense and what packages they would bring out, and hit the nail on the coffin. That's exactly what they did. A lot of cover 3 looks, a lot of overload blitzes. And one thing I don't know if you watched the Srikar. I'm sure you watched a couple clips of Myles Garrett playing on the inside.
Yeah.
Right? That crisscross thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the first time he's ever done that. And the reason we can do that is because we have Zadarius Smith on the outside and Ogbo Okoronkwo on the other side. And there were a couple third downs where they would run Garrett and Zadarius Smith on the same side. This is so similar to what Raheem Morris did with the Rams with Von Miller and Aaron Donald. Like, this is scary. This is so lethal. I think people are like not realizing how lethal this can be. And then the secondary, I mean, they played lights out. Like Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, and Greg Newsome all had pass breakups. They all guarded all of the 3, right? I think Newsome played Tyler the most, but Denzel was on Jamar, Emerson was on Jamar, and both were exceptional. Couldn't have asked anything better. And the linebacking core was great. JOK was getting in the backfield. Awak was doing his thing, and then Taki made some plays. This defense was phenomenal. Like, I mean, like, again, as a Browns fan, best defensive game I've ever seen, and I will stamp that. And then offensively, a lot of rain, right? So you saw a couple balls from Deshaun Watson that didn't even get to the receivers, got hit on the ground. This happening in the Texans game too last year, that he came back first game. But run game was solid. Jack Conklin out for the year, which I'm a little bit worried about. But DeJuan Jones, Big Thanos is what we call him, looked really good. We also picked up a veteran OT, but La'el Collins is available now, so maybe we look at him. But all in all, this is a dangerous team. So, Shriek, I'll give you a question instead of maybe recapping the game. How dangerous can this Browns team actually be? Like, is this a fluke, or is this a team that people should fear? Because I know you did have them in the playoffs, so maybe you can recap where they can go from now.
Well, I think they could win the division. That's literally what I felt before the season. I feel even stronger about that now. I'm not going to just try and rehash all your points because I agree with a lot of what you said. But yeah, this defense looks elite. I think I'd pencil the defense in as a top 5 unit already in all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They got pressure on Burrow, obviously. Secondary was super tight in coverage. I mean, they won this game off the strength of the defense. So the Jim Schwartz hire, I think it looks great. On offense, I think it was all about the legs. Watson did a nice job of escaping pressure. Chubb also had a great game. They had 206 yards on the ground in total. So I think overall, the defense did win them the game. But when you combine that with a run game that's as potent as the Browns on the other side, I think this is a lethal combo, and I think Watson is going to get better as the season goes along. If this was the game where he's kind of knocking off some rust, per se, what could that mean as he keeps getting more reps and, getting more chances with a great offense around him? So I think this team, I'm pretty confident that they could win this division. I would not be surprised if they do. But yeah, this is a dangerous squad, as you said.
Yeah, I think this is like a formula that I wanted the 2020 Browns to be on. So, because Cleveland's never going to have good weather, right? Like there's always like 4 to 5 games where it's just rain. And I think people tend to not realize that because obviously who's watching the Cleveland Browns, right? Like no one's really watching them. So like you don't realize that, their passing stats are never that great, but it's always raining. There's always some type of, snow or something, right? So like there's always like 4 to 5 home games that are like that. And this one was no exception, right? So you're going to have to rely on the run game a lot. And I think that's why Andrew Berry constructed this team to be like that, because you're going to win on run game and defense, but you also have a quarterback who has that passing upside. So yeah, when the playoffs roll around and if the Browns have to play in a dome on the road or something in a hostile environment, they can adapt to that. So yeah, I think Deshaun is going to be still a question that has yet to be answered, right? I think he was the quarterback with the most questions coming into this year in terms of how he would play. Again, yet to be seen, but we also have 16 more games to answer that. So that's also my thing. Elijah Moore was used as kind of that game player. So I'm very happy that was utilized. But again, this Browns team, I think from player for player, they're looking really, really
Hey, we both nailed our picks.
Dude, man, it like as a Browns fan, it's just so yeah. We both picked Cleveland, by the way.
Yeah.
Contrary to what I think Cincinnati was a 2.5 favorite or something. So
Yeah.
kudos to you for picking us. And yeah, Burrow 1-5 against the Cleveland Browns.
Oof. That's funny. He's the one quarterback that can't figure out the Browns.
Hey, I'm happy. I'll take it, right? Like it definitely suits me. But yeah, I guess we can move on. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about the Browns. Obviously, I'm trying to keep all the bias aside, but really was impressed with this. And they, by the way, Shriek, they're favored in Pittsburgh. Can you name me the last time they were favored in Pittsburgh? Last time.
In at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
You're gonna go crazy for this. 1990.
Man.
33 years since and this is a team who plays in Pittsburgh every year.
Yeah.
They have been favored in 33 years till today. So Browns fans, we're looking up. I hope. Wow. And moving on to a team that really not a lot of people were high on. I'm gonna take a little bit of credit here. I mean, I was one of few to take the over on this team, the LA Rams. People were really low. Like we're talking like 3 to 4 wins. I'm sure Srikar, you were also kind of around there, just not high on the Rams.
No.
You were high on the Rams?
I was a little bit high. 3 to 4 wins is come on now.
Okay. Well, yeah, a lot of people were 3 to 4 wins. But yeah, the power of Sean McVay. Yeah, so they pull out a 30-13 win. I obviously didn't think they would win this game, but man, I mean, Matthew Stafford, who's now I think the oldest starter in the league now that Rodgers is out. Yeah, he looked really impressive. Really impressive. 334 yards. He did exactly what he needed to do. A lot of the throws outside the numbers, I thought he hit perfectly. And again, I mean, this is what Sean McVay does. I mean, he's so effective in these 11 personnel packages, and they flat out exploited a secondary that I was super high on. I know they didn't have Jamal Adams, but still, Tariq Woolen. I know Devon Witherspoon was hurt, but Julian Love is still there. Quandre Diggs, and this team got really beat up. Now, I'll let you start maybe. What did you think of the Rams and how maybe, how good can this team be? Because, I don't know. This was a really impressive showing.
I think plain and simple, they were just better than the Hawks, the whole game. Because usually in week 1, you know how there's some fluky, sloppy turnovers, because you're getting those first game jitters out the way.
Sure.
With this game, I never got a sense of that with the Hawks. I think they just got completely outclassed by the Rams. That offense is still explosive. They could have won by more if Van Jefferson didn't drop that touchdown.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, you said it. Stafford still has a live arm. I think the play designs are great. The Rams offense is kind of manufactured in a way that anyone can turn into a weapon, because look at the guys. Kyron Williams had 2 touchdowns. Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell both combined for 200 yards. Anyone can be a beast in the offense. Matthew Stafford spread the ball really well. I think it's just such a well-coached team. When you talk about Sean McVay, you also talk about Raheem Moore. I think this defense played really well. Ernest Jones was awesome. Raheem Moore had his guys ready. And they also dominated time of possession. They controlled the clock really well. I was impressed with the Rams. This doesn't seem like a fluke win to me at all. I actually think the Rams could be a heavy sleeper in the NFC. And if Stafford stays healthy the full season, all I'll say is, look out, because this is a team that's 2 years removed from a Super Bowl. So they can still be dangerous, especially when Cup comes back.
Yeah, they were 3-3 with most of their guys healthy, and then once Cup went down, Donald went down, Stafford went down. Obviously, you're going to go 2-9 in your final 11 games. So yeah, I'm with you. Like again, well, I just had to throw this little jab out there. I don't think Kyle Shanahan's doing this with his
Rent
roster.
free. Absolutely rent free. There's no reason to bring up Kyle Shanahan.
I just had to throw it out there. But yeah, no, I was super impressed. Like this is what the or why I believe so much in Sean McVay. Also, a lot less running on first down. I was happy with that. Like,
Yes, yes,
I was happy
yes.
with that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, for all you fantasy owners out there, yeah, Kyron was getting a lot of the work. There wasn't really any efficiency from the two backs, but like again, they got done what they needed to do. But yeah, Stafford, man, I like he really impressed me with some of those throws. And yeah, for all the spine stuff we were worried about, all the elbow stuff we were worried about, I mean, at least for that game, it looked good. And yeah, for a guy who said he was in one of the best shapes he has ever been in, I guess he backed it up. So, the question is, Cup's out for another 3 games. So, like I know, you know, they got a tough road because I know they play Cincinnati, I think week 3 or something. So like they've got some tough games coming up. But yeah, a lot of people thought this team could start 0-3. Well, they're 1-0, so at least they're already beating that. And it depends on how this NFC West shakes out, but we know the Cardinals aren't going to be good, right? And Seattle right now is looking really shaky.
Yeah.
So the Rams could be a sneaky out. They were my, I believe, 8 or 9 seed. I think I had them like 8-9 or 9-8. So, they could be right there or even better than that. And I think that would easily get them in the playoffs. So again, the NFC, I think what it told me, at least in week 1, is that it's pretty much wide open.
Yeah.
I think aside from the Niners, Cowboys, and dude, the Eagles didn't even look good, but I think the Eagles got to be penciled in there. Those 3 teams, dude, the rest is literally completely up for grabs.
Yeah.
I think the Rams kind of showed that. Moving on, I guess we can touch up on this seems really biased, but like I know because these are all the guys I like, but let's talk about Bake. All right. Let's talk
The one
about
time I let Anish get to pick all the topics for the show, he does this.
Okay, I mean, I was trying to throw the Raiders in there. Maybe if we have time we can talk about them. But like, okay, like the Buccaneers, I said it in the picks episode. This was my scary upset. Like this was the one game I was scared of, and they pulled it off. I wish they had been in Tampa. I would have maybe done it, but they did what they needed to do in crunch time, right? Like this was a back and forth affair, right? First of all, ballsy call to kick the field goal with 5 left at the 57 or 57-yard field, because if you miss that, Minnesota could just run out the clock, right? So ballsy move. They hit it though. And as someone who was a once fan of Chase McLaughlin because he was on the Browns, can't believe he made that kick. He never did it with us, so maybe it's just all the kickers do well once they leave. But yeah, I mean, this was a back and forth affair. A couple turnovers early for Minnesota maybe killed the momentum that they were having because Jefferson was honestly cooking the secondary, right? Like he was just getting open across the middle, and that's kind of what he does. That's what he did against Green Bay last year in the first game. I think he had like 150 something yards or something. Like, I mean, he was just doing his thing. But when push came to shove, Tampa Bay outplayed them in the second half. They did what they needed to do, right? Say what you want about some of those turnovers, but the Bucs earned it, right? And Baker looked pretty solid. He had a couple pretty good throws, namely the post to Mike Evans. The first, I don't know if you noticed, there was a drop that Mike had on the sideline. I don't know if you saw that play, but like people were blaming Baker, and I'm like, dude, it was a perfect go route. Like it just didn't connect, but like, I don't think we should be worried about the labrum. He's now 2 years removed from it, and I don't think it's really showing. And yeah, on that 3rd and 10 out route to Chris Godwin to seal the game, dime. Like, so, say what you want about Tampa. Again, this was a team that a lot of people were really low on, like really low. This was a team that people thought could get the first overall pick. People gave no attention to them in the preseason, but they look good in it. And I'll ask you again, where do you think this team could go?
I'll start with the good from this game. Let's start with the positives. If we look to the defense, good pressure. Antoine Winfield made plays. They got 3 turnovers. On the offense, I think Baker wasn't great. I mean, he was good, but he was clutch. He was clutch in the end, and I think he spread the ball around to all his receivers really well. And it's also a big opponent in their house. So, Congrats, But I'm not going to overreact. That's what I'm not about to do. I'm not going to overreact to this win. Because at the end of the day, it took a 3-0 turnover differential for the Bucs to barely squeak by. I
Yeah.
think Minnesota actually pretty much outplayed them, and the stats back it up. Minnesota was leading in almost every category. The Bucs gave up a lot of yards through the air, or good against the run, but a lot of air yards. Again, 3-0 turnover differential just to barely win by a field goal. I need to see more. And with Baker, my one problem throughout his entire career has been inconsistency. So if you have a good week one, how are you going to follow it up? And it's not even just what he does this week, it's what he does in the week after and after that. Like, how does he do over this first stretch? That will be the real determining factor on if he's back or if he's not. And also, do the Bucs need these things to happen every week for them to win? Like,
Yeah.
that's another question that we have to ask. So I think the Bucs, my outlook has not changed on them. I wasn't really like incredibly low on them to begin with, but I still feel like they'll be a low scoring team. You rely on the defense to make clutch plays. And in this case, Baker was the one who was making the clutch plays, but also the defense came to play. So right now, I don't think my outlook has changed, but I'll still give him props. I'll give him credit. I'm just not going to overreact to the win.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same space you are, but I mean, like this NFC South is wide open, right? And
Sure.
at least Baker has shown us seasons, not just games, seasons where he's looked good, right?
And
for
also seasons where he's looked bad.
exactly, yeah. So for all the hate he gets, people don't even consider him a starter. At least he's had some productive film. I've seen, quarterbacks with way less production that have been on a higher pedestal, right? So at least I think Baker's got some credibility, and he showed what he usually does, right? Like he makes plays. But with Tampa, you're right. I think the turnover differential is something we just can't hang our expect every time, right? And yeah, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna go out and say this is a fluke, but this is also a team that just is an older roster. Their offensive line is not that good, right? I will say this though, Wirfs looked really good as a left tackle, by the way. Like really impressed with that. They actually moved him. Looked really good. But yeah, older offensive line, older defense, right? So, kind of big cap hits. And a lot of the questions for the Bucs was like, should they tank for Caleb? I don't know, right? I think there's so many questions that still yet to be answered. And I think week one didn't really do that for me, but it intrigued me a little bit more. Again, I think this goes to show how wide open the NFC South is. I think the Falcons look good. The Saints did what they needed to do, and the Bucs did what they needed to do. I think I don't really think there's a clear team in the South yet.
Were you impressed by the Saints or the Falcons? Really impressed?
Not the Falcons. I thought did what I think Falcons did the formula that I expected them to, and that's why I was this is going to be an 8 to 9 win team. Okay. So I mean, they basically, met my expectations. The Saints kind of met it, right? In the sense that
I was about to say, even with the Saints, do you remember that play where Carr fumbled and the Titans took it for 6, but then they overturned it? I thought that was a fumble. I thought that was a fumble 6. So I think the Saints are really lucky to win that game.
I did too.
And then you're right. Even with the Falcons, the passing game,
yeah, but the Saints I was never that high on. So I think they were also going to be in that mid pack. The Panthers, a team that I kind of lowered my expectations once the receivers got hurt. But you never know how Bryce can develop. But the Bucs, again, this just goes to show the NFC South. I think any team can really win it. I really do, even after 1 week. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of what I take away from this. But you're right. Let's not overreact. Let's not say they're back or whatever. They can win the South, but I don't think they're going to be fighting for that number 1 spot in the draft. I don't. All right. So with that, I guess we can go to obviously by far my favorite segment of the week. Weekly picks. I can't even throw out that I was last year's champ anymore because we're not past week 1. So we're in week 2 now, and I believe, Shriek, you want to recap the records if you have them up?
Yeah. So I'm 10-6. You're 9-7. Fans 8-8. So basically, we're all within a game of each other. So it's week 1.
It was that damn Miami game that I switched out of.
You switched out of Miami.
It's because I believed in Herbert. See, this is why he's not top 5. This is exactly why.
I switched to Miami. You switched to the Chargers. So
yeah, I know. I was on. Oh my god, I was on Miami, and then
I should have stuck with LV.
And what's funny is the Jets won despite Rodgers not being there. I thought when Rodgers went down, I was like, great, I'll get the game back. Right?
Yeah, the Jets clutched up.
And then Josh Allen has 3 turnovers in the span of 10 minutes, and I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? So hey, kudos to Shriek, he got it. But hey, at least we both. pick Cleveland to beat Cincy. So yeah, see, Shriek's not satisfied. He knows. He knows this
Yeah.
is a long stretch ahead. So
Yeah, I
I'm,
can't
I'm
be
gonna be back.
satisfied.
I'm gonna be
All right.
vying for that
All right, let's
championship.
get rolling here. Thursday night football, Vikings at Eagles. Uh the Vikings still have an explosive offense, or an offense with the potential to be explosive, but I mean, they needed that win at home against the Bucs because I mean, it's the Eagles making their home debut. And although the Eagles weren't perfect against the Patriots, they still went into Foxborough and got a win on the road to kick off the year. This is an elite team. And unfortunately for the Vikings, I don't think it's going to go well for them on a short week. So, yeah, I got to go Philly here.
Philly did not impress me, by the way. They
Okay.
did not look good. I think New England outplayed them. They got a couple breaks that went their way, that pick six, but yeah, they didn't look that good. That being said, it's going to be at home, so I think like obviously, the home crowd for the defending NFC champs is going to be pretty loud. And we saw what they did to them last year. I don't think much has changed personnel wise on both sides. So yeah, give me Philly.
All right, let's go to Sunday. We will start with there's a lot of interesting matchups on this Sunday slate. I think this one is one of them. Packers at Falcons. I'll let you start here because honestly,
You got no
I have no
clue.
clue.
Yeah, no, okay. By the way, we didn't really talk about it again, but yeah, Green Bay looked super good, and I think
Yes.
this is a testament to Matt LaFleur. Again, this is a guy who won 13 games his first 3 years, and I think people didn't really give as much credit to him just because obviously Aaron Rodgers won MVP 2 of those years. But again, winning 39 games in 3 years is still really impressive. So, yeah, I think for a team that looked really good against Chicago, right? A team that they've kind of owned, that defense was pretty good. Atlanta, though, again, the rushing attack was super solid, and they get another home game here. So it just comes down to, do I trust the Packers as a team more? Do I trust Atlanta's home field in their running game? I'm gonna take the Packers. I think the Packers defense is gonna be good. Chicago had a pretty decent run game, didn't really get going, so I'll take the Packers here.
Yeah, the Packers were outstanding with Jordan Love's debut. They went into Chicago, continued to own the Bears just as they did when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback. But this time it was a different Aaron that was owning the Bears. It was Aaron Jones. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he was dynamic just all throughout the game, not only as a runner, but a receiver as well. So this matchup with the Falcons is interesting because it's pitting Aaron Jones against Bijan Robinson. I think that's a really cool matchup right there. How about that debut for Bijan? I mean, you look around the league, you see the value that these like positionless running backs are bringing to the table. I mean, guys like Bijan, Austin Eckler, Aaron
Dude, I
Jones,
think he
Christian
got
McCaffrey.
I think he got a 50-50 split of slot receiver and
Yeah,
back. Like it was crazy.
yeah,
I mean, Algier was their primary back. Like it was like he was a complimentary back but a receiver at the same time. He had the most catches, I believe, out of anybody on that team. So
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think we're going to see an even bigger workload for Bijan this week. But yeah, as you said, the Falcons have a nice luxury in Tyler Algier and possibly a healthy Cordero Patterson for this week as well. As far as this matchup is concerned, I mean, even though the Falcons are at home, I think they're just going to struggle against this Packers pass rush. If they can play ball control all game, I think Atlanta's got a shot. But I think I'm going to take Green Bay in a close one here. I think they're just the team I trust more, especially coming off week one. I had more questions about Atlanta than Green Bay. So I'll go with the road team here. Moving on, Raiders and Bills. The Bills. Well, I'll talk about the Raiders first. I mean, they found a way to beat the Broncos despite having 10 penalties for nearly 100 yards. And they did it without a great performance from Josh Jacobs. Jacobs averaged, 2.5 yards a carry? Not that great. And the Raiders proved they could beat the Broncos without a massive performance from him. But you're not going against the Broncos. You're going against the Bills at their house in week two. I mean, they're coming off an absolute gut check against the Jets, like a walk-off loss in overtime on a Jets punt return. I have to think that Josh Allen is going to come out in this one with a chip on his shoulder. I mean, 3 interceptions and a lost fumble. I'm guessing we see a bit of a bounce back game for Buffalo. This is a team that's obviously supposed to be a big time contender in the AFC once again this season. They didn't look the part on Monday, but I think this will serve as a get right game for him. I'll go with the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, remember they like lost to Pittsburgh that 2 years ago, and people were like concerned. It's a similar kind of thing, right? Like also the Jets have always played them well, and then the Raiders have also always played the Broncos well, right? So kudo, I'm glad I stuck with that pick because dude, and Jimbo finds a way to win. But yeah, not today. I think Buffalo will take them here, but the Raiders, again, as I said in like my hot takes thing, are a team that I don't know why people are so low on. I'm not.
All right. Ravens Bengals. This is another interesting matchup. This is in Cincinnati. Um, as always, I'm letting you start with the harder matchups.
Yeah, you better not just steal my thunder here, but you know what? I'll just spoil it. I'm going with the Ravens here, and I'll tell you why. Look,
Okay.
I honestly don't think um I honestly don't think the Ravens were all that against Houston. I think Lamar got in his own way a lot again, right? Like he reverted to the same flaws that I have with him. And like, don't get me wrong, I still have him in my top 7. I think he's like a great quarterback, but he gets in his own way. A lot of ducks over the middle and again, takes dumb sacks. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Ravens here because one, I think they always play Cincinnati close, and I know they don't have J.K. I think Marlon's also banged up, and like I can't remember who else. Maybe Marcus Williams. I know they have some injuries in the back end, but give me the Ravens here still. I think this is a team that again played them close last year in the wild card game, and I think they're going to do so much of the same. Lamar's honestly not owned Joe Burrow, but he's always played him pretty tough. So, and most of Cincinnati's wins against the Ravens have been without him. So, yeah.
One little note I'll give on the Ravens. This was also another takeaway I had from last week. I'm not taking the Ravens seriously as a contender just because of the injuries. I mean, this happens to the Ravens every year.
Yeah, it's
Like,
it's like a
not
given, man.
escape
It
it. Like
sucks. It
J.K.
really does.
Dobbins, Ronnie Stanley, Marcus Williams are already gone after one game. So I just can't do it. I can't buy into the Ravens as a serious contender if they're always going to be hurt. The Bengals, you're going to have to find a way to rebound. Again, the Ravens took care of business in week 1 against the Texans. I agree with you. I don't think it was as dominating of a performance as the final score would say. I think the Ravens really just took advantage of playing against CJ Stroud in his first game and, as I just said, took care of business. I think the Bengals' performance against the Browns will wake up this Cincinnati offense. I don't see a slump coming by any stretch. Like, I'm not worried about the Bengals. I think the Bengals will come out against the Ravens and just look a lot better offensively. I won't say night and day, but, well, yeah, I think I should say night and day because that's just about as bad
I
as
think
it
it has
gets.
to be night and day, bro.
Yeah.
Like you literally
So,
cannot be, dude. Oh, I didn't even say this in the segment, dude. 7 3-and-outs and 10 punts.
Yeah.
7 3-and-outs. I don't think I can emphasize that enough. You're an NFL offense and you have 7 3-and-outs. I'm sorry, like that is pathetic. But that being said, I probably will change my pick anyway. But I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I don't know how you rebound from 7 3. Like,
all right. All right, moving on. Seahawks and Lions. I don't know if I said in the last game, but I'm picking the Bengals. But Seahawks and Lions in Detroit. This crowd in Detroit is about to go absolutely insane.
yeah.
I mean, this fan base deserves optimism for a change, and I think one of the primary reasons they can feel optimistic, their defense just got the job done against one of the best offenses in the NFL. But
Yep.
while the Chiefs are primarily a passing team that was missing its primary weapon in that phase, the Seahawks are a team that's much more two-dimensional on that side of the ball. They have a run game that they can work off. It wasn't really that good in the last game. I know a lot of people were high on Zach Charbonnet. Didn't see too much from him. Didn't see too much from Kenneth Walker either. But they can still run all over you. You never know. And obviously Matthew Stafford and the Rams passing game had their way with Seattle's secondary. So I think Detroit's going to come out with nearly the same game plan because that passing game has the potential to be very explosive. You look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, Sam Laporta. So I think Detroit, with more rest, they played on Thursday, right? They come home in front of their fans. I think they're going to have a huge game. And now Seattle is going to be 0-2, which would make things very interesting in the division.
Man, I'm just looking at our slate, and yeah, I'm really gonna have to predict these hard matchups first. We might have to switch that, but yeah, I'm going with Detroit too. Like I think you highlighted pretty much everything. Seattle, look, I'm not just gonna flip a 180. I still think this is a good roster, but injuries are killing them. By the way, they're missing both their tackles. And they just signed Jason Peters, which I don't know how ready he'll be right out the gate as a 41-year-old. Jamal Adams, I don't know if he's going to be back yet. And Devon Witherspoon got hurt. I don't know when Jordan Brooks is going to be back, who tore his ACL last year. So yeah, a lot of injuries. And yeah, Detroit, dude, this place is going to be crazy, dude. So
Yeah.
give me the Lions.
All right. So since you want to complain that you're getting the tough matchups, I'll start this one. All right. Chargers Titans in Tennessee. Look, man, the Chargers seemingly have all the weapons they need. They seemingly have the superstar QB. What is it going to take for things to really start to click for this team? In my opinion, it's the head coach, but that's a whole nother story for a whole different day. One area the Chargers are going to have to show improvement in immediately is the pass rush, right? The Chargers had just 2 QB hits on Tua Tagovailoa this past week, 0 sacks. Even though Ryan Tannehill looks like a shell of himself, that's not going to fly in week 2, even against the Titans. Here's my thing. What do we know that we can expect from a Mike Vrabel-led team? Tough defense, typically low-scoring games, and the defense forcing turnovers. Here is a game that I think, it's going to be projected almost unanimously in one direction by the media. Most people will be on the Chargers for this game based on the week 1 results for both of these teams. I actually think we could see a bounce back game for the Titans. I mean, they always find ways to win games that they're not supposed to. I think this is one of them. So I'm going to make this one kind of a bold upset pick of the week. The early line is Chargers -3. So, I mean, it's pretty even. But yeah, I'll go with the upset here. I'm going to go Titans.
Way to steal my thunder, bruh. Damn. Are you kidding me? Okay, well, yeah. So it's at Tennessee, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. So the Chargers actually being -3 is actually a minus, or it's a 6-point spread because home always
Oh,
gets.
you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So actually, they're pretty heavy on the Chargers here. I'm going with the Titans, and a lot of for what you said. Yeah, I don't think Tannehill has that same type of week. It did look a little shaky, but yeah. Also, D Hop had 13 targets on guys like Marshawn Lattimore. I don't think anyone in the Chargers secondary really represents that type of matchup. So I think D Hop, who people were maybe scared of on how he was going to look with the Titans, he got 13 targets. Like that's a good target share to have, right? So expect a bounce back from him. I mean, he had 65 yards, so it's not like really a bad game. But yeah, that's one thing. And also, yeah, the Chargers played well, but when it came down to it, they got heavily out schemed by Vic Fangio. And yeah, they couldn't protect him in the final drive. They had no sacks up until that, and then Jalen Phillips killed him. Well, the Titans have Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, and Kevin Byard in the back end. I like their defense, and yeah, I'm going with an upset, I guess, too. Yeah, Titans. Maybe this will be like the Browns over the
Yeah.
both get it right, but yeah, guess we're both exactly thinking the same way.
All right. Bears and Bucks in Tampa. This is where you start.
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Yeah.
Like this one's also a little interesting. I'm just gonna go out and say it. I think Baker goes 2-0.
Okay.
I'm taking the Bucs. The Bears, oh man, I thought the play calling was gonna be a lot better, but it was more of the same. Again, what I thought it was gonna be was a lot of quick and let the playmakers do their thing, and that's kind of what it was. Except the playmakers didn't do their thing. That's kind of what happened. I think the Packers secondary is better than the Bucs, but I think the Bucs have better safety play. I think Bucs fans are going to be a lot more happy, right? Like I didn't think they expected to win this game, so I think that home field they're going to be really excited for it. And yeah, bro, the Bears, who I thought were going to have that big home field, really got shut out in that second half. So yeah, give me Tampa to go 2-0.
Yeah, the Bears in week 1, it was just a monumental disappointment. Right? The team didn't look any better than what we saw last year. Justin Fields was sacked 5 times. He threw a pick 6 to Quay Walker. I mean, there's major question marks heading into this game. How is he going to look against a Tampa defense that had a great game against the Vikings this past Sunday? I mean, we just talked about the Bucs, but I mean, you can't help but wonder how this one is going to go after we saw somewhat the opposite of what we thought from each of these teams in week 1. Was it just week 1 being weird, or are the Bucs going to be a lot better, or the Bears going to be much worse? I'll also go with Tampa. They're at home. I trust that defense. And again, the Bears just don't. They don't look good. Simply put, they just don't look like a very good football team. But let's move on here to a matchup that I know you've been waiting for a little bit. The Chiefs and the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Do you want the honors on this, or do you want me to go first?
I'll let you.
Okay.
I'll let you.
It was not a good showing for the Chiefs in week 1 to open the season. And it wasn't even that the Chiefs played poor overall. Their defense did a good job considering they didn't have Chris Jones. And it wasn't even that Patrick Mahomes made mistakes. It was the supporting cast. There was no running game to speak of. Mahomes was hitting throws, but receivers were dropping passes. And by receivers, I mean mostly Kadarius Toney. And I know the absence of Travis Kelce was felt in a massive way. And to make matters worse, I don't think Andy Reid called a very good game at all. I don't think either coach had a very good game for that part, but
Wow, really?
yeah, I don't think Andy Reid called a very good game, and that's just not going to fly when you're going up against your former apprentice in Jacksonville, Doug Peterson. I mean, this Jaguars team gave the Chiefs fits in the playoffs last season. They seem poised to take that next step this year. They let the Colts stay in the game a little too long for comfort this past week. I knew that would happen, but they found a way to break the game open late. You come away with a 10-point margin, 31 points on the board. The Jags know that they're going to have to score a lot to win this one, especially because the Chiefs are going to be playing with an extra chip on their shoulders coming off of a loss in week 1. My gut says the Chiefs come into Jacksonville and get a win, but my heart,
No, you're kidding.
my heart
You're kidding me.
says the Jaguars get
Are
revenge
you kidding
for
me?
last year's playoff game and get a win. This is a home opener for the Jags too. Yeah, I'm going Jacksonville. I'm sorry. I knew you were
Are
going
you
to take them.
kidding me? Are you kidding me? I let you go first so I could do the exact same thing.
I finessed you.
Jacksonville.
I finessed you, and it is going up on YouTube.
I just got both my upsets stolen. Are you kidding me? I should have gone for.
I gave you the chance, and I would have agreed with you, and it would have been perfect. You should not have let me go first.
All right. I need some time because yes, I have been waiting for this matchup for 8 months because I still think the Jags should have won the divisional round game. I've mentioned the Christian Kirk drop, the Chad Henne 98-yard drive, and the Agnew fumble maybe like 40 times. But guess what? Chad Henne is not there anymore, so he can't hurt Browns fans and Trevor Lawrence fans everywhere, myself included. Yeah, so he's gone. But yeah, I'm taking the Jags and I'm picking Mahomes to start 0-2. I'll tell you why. I think, one, the Jags look good, and I think the reason people are a little bit scared, oh, but they only beat Indy by 10. Indy has always fared well against Jacksonville. I think this is their first time winning in Indy in like 6 years. Like, it's been really long since they've done that. So kudos to them. And yeah, this just goes to show that boy T-Law, is he top
Looking
3?
good.
Is he top 3? You know, some might jump it right. So I got a lot of criticisms for having him in the top 4. I think people are gonna come around, and again, like I said, it's better to be early than wait. Okay, so I don't want to hear people be like, oh, but you know, we needed to see more. No, he has already done enough. He is already a good quarterback. Watch the film. Use the same tape you used to eval. And yeah, I'm going to take the Jags to win this one. I think Chris Jones may be a little bit rusty. And yeah, this is going to be a really good game. And Mahomes is going to go 0-2, and the world is going to be thrown into chaos.
All right, your punishment for not going first on Chiefs Jags is going first for Colts Texans.
Cannot believe you're taking. I thought you were going to take the Chiefs, and I was going to come out here and, you know, shock the world. But all right, you know what? Whatever. Yeah, this is going to bar on if Anthony Richardson plays. I knew he tweaked his knee towards the end of the game. Maybe you shouldn't have said that for Shriek, but had to let the fans know. So
no, I knew that. Yeah.
Oh, darn it. Well, yeah, Anthony Richardson. Let's hope he plays. Contingent on it. I'm going to take Indianapolis. I love Shaden Steichen. His RPO schemes are really impressive. And yeah, I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah, the Ravens, you know, they gave CJ Stroud a very rude welcome to the NFL. Anthony Richardson had big flashes in that loss to the Jaguars. Given the fact that both these teams are really young, the way I'm seeing it right now, it's Colts -1. So this game is pretty much a toss-up according to the betting experts. I think it'll move at least a little bit. The line will. But I think the odds makers liked what they saw out of Richardson more than they liked what they saw out of Stroud. But at some point, Stroud is going to get cooking a little bit and have a big game. My question is, why not this one? I mean, facing the Ravens on the road for your first game is just brutal. The Texans and Colts each have new head coaches going up against each other. So these are two teams very much in a transitional, or not transition, developmental phase, I think is the better word. So it could go either way. But, as NFL fans, I think we should both be hoping for some fireworks from both of these quarterbacks, some signs of promise for both of these quarterbacks. But I'll go, I think with this, I trust the Texans defense a little bit more. I trust the way the defense is coached a little bit more with D'Amico Ryans. So I'll go with Houston here at home as well. So I think I'm going to go with Houston. But let's move on here. Niners, Rams, it's always, a weekly thing, a yearly thing. 2 times a year where, the Niners can just pick up 2 wins. I'm kidding. I actually think the Rams are going to keep this one close. But I do want to talk a little bit about the most impressive win of week 1. The Steelers are one of the best home teams in the NFL over the last 20 years, and certainly under Mike Tomlin. I mean, the Niners just unleashed their pass rush and just a barrage of offense that the Steelers can keep up with. You get nearly 300 yards of offense from Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk, 3 combined touchdowns from those guys. I mean, the Steelers didn't have an answer for Ayuk the entire game. And on the other side, the Steelers just didn't have an answer for the Niners pass rush. Drake Jackson, he got off to a roaring start this year, 3 sacks on Kenny Pickett. I predicted Talanoa Hufanga to be the breakout player for the Niners last year. Drake Jackson was my pick going into this season, so already looking pretty good. But you head back to California, taking on a much more familiar opponent in the Rams. They'll look quite a bit different than they did even last season. But as we said about the Rams, really impressive on offense, getting over 100 yards receiving from Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. Matthew Stafford being back and healthy, such an asset for the Rams. Donald being back and healthy is such an asset for them as well. The early line on this game, I'm seeing Niners -8. That is way too much, in my opinion. I feel like Sean McVay and the Rams, I mean, you got to give them a little bit more respect. But I think this one might come down to which team can force more turnovers. So in that case, I'm going to take the Niners. I think it'll be a closer game than people think, especially with how the Rams did in week 1. As I said, that was not a fluke win. I think they can really play up to competition. Yeah, I'll go with the Niners, though. You know me. I'm not making the mistake I did last week and taking Pittsburgh, which I heavily regret, by the way. I'm going to go with the team that I love the most, obviously.
All right, so we basically made that into a segment with that entire recap. But yeah, I'm just gonna say it simple and short. I've had my fair share of picks with the Rams against the Niners in the regular season. I think I went like 4 straight where I picked them and they lost. So I'm done. Just give me the Niners, and I hope McVay can win so I can, obviously have my laughs. But yeah. Niners.
All right, Giants Cardinals in Arizona. Make your pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go quick. Give me the Giants to bounce back. I honestly do think if they had made the field goal, I think it would have been a much different game. I really do. I know it was 40-0, but like seriously, I mean the Giants, the first drive looked really good, and then all for it to be blocked, and then momentum completely shifted. And yeah, they just really couldn't get anything going against the Cowboys pass rush. Arizona actually looked good defensively against Sam Howell and the Commanders, though.
Yeah.
Right? So like I think
played them tough.
A better offense, but yeah, the Cardinals didn't look as bad. But yeah, I'll take the Giants and I guess a bounce back week.
Yeah, the Giants are not, a high flying, high octane offense that's going to win in a lot of shootouts. But if they're able to win the game in the trenches, I think they can still be super effective. Brian Daboll had this team playing really well last year and limiting turnovers, but it's just hard for any team to overcome that many mistakes. If there's any game this year where the Giants will have some room for error, though, it might be this one. The Cardinals put up a better fight in week 1 than I could have imagined, even against the Commanders and a young QB in Sam Howell, but I'm just not sure how long that's really going to last. as bad as the Giants looked against the Cowboys, I think this is as clear of a get right game as you'll find. Not to disrespect the Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon, but I think the Giants are going to take this one. They need to establish the ground game with Saquon Barkley, get that offensive line some confidence. I mean, they just took one on the chin against Dallas in that defensive front. I think this is a chance for them to bounce back here. Give me the Giants. All right, so we didn't finish recording, so this is a new day. We're changed. We're not in the same clothes as you can see, but we are going to go into Jets Cowboys. I think this is another easy one. I think the Jets defense will give the Cowboys a hard time, but with no Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be tough to predict the Jets win in this one. Even if the Cowboys have to win a low-scoring game, Dallas defense is very good in its own right. They just embarrassed the Giants on their home field. So playing in Dallas, I think the Cowboys stand a pretty good chance in this one as long as they don't turn the ball over 4 or 5 times like the Bills did against the Jets. So give me Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say week one was like, a fluke in how many turnovers they're going to get, but yeah, I mean, both defenses obviously were pretty good, and pretty high expectations coming into the year. I got Dallas too. I think this is also their home opener. They looked really good against the Giants. Offensively, we didn't see much from them though, so that may be a concern going into the Jets game. But I mean, the Jets
They
also have
didn't.
to.
The offense didn't have to do anything though.
Yeah. The Jets also have to score against Dallas's offense, and I just don't think the Jets offense is going to outscore the Dallas offense. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm taking that.
All right. Commanders at Broncos.
I'll take the start. I'll take Denver here. Main reason I took the Raiders anyway was because they've honestly owned them, and then also it's Jimmy G versus Sam Howell, and again, I like to think Jimmy G's not bad. So I think Sam Howell. I've seen some people call him a less talented Baker Mayfield. I actually don't think that's that far off of a comp, but I've also always kind of liked Howell too. But man, that was a pretty abysmal performance against the Cardinals. I know they won, but really wasn't impressed from what I saw. Offensive line kind of got manhandled. He was the second most pressured quarterback, I think, of week one. So, and Denver's defense isn't, something to just write home about. So, isn't something that you shouldn't fear. So yeah, I think Denver takes this one. I don't think Judy's gonna play. We'll find out closer, but yeah, give me Denver.
Yeah, I think I won't say this is the same old Broncos team, but a lot of the stuff that I saw in that game against the Raiders was kind of the same as what I saw last year, especially from Russell Wilson. I didn't notice any major step up or anything like that, but it's just week one. Something I noticed that was pretty interesting. The Broncos finished that game with just 6 offensive possessions total. That is really low. Usually it'd be like 9 to 12. 6? I mean, that's really conservative, right? So I think
it's a lot of long play drives. There wasn't anything that popped, right? Russ was efficient, but there wasn't the deep play, and that maybe is because of a lack of playmakers. I mean, they were supposed to have Tim Patrick and Judy for this game, and they didn't, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I guess that could be a part of it, but yeah, you're right. 6 is really bad.
Yeah, so I think, you're kind of due for a bounce back game here. Hard fought game for the Commanders in week one. I don't know if it should have been a hard fought game, but it was. Sam Howell, he came through with the big plays when the Commanders needed them most. I'll give him that, but yeah, I agree with you. It wasn't a very impressive debut. I think this game could be pretty low scoring if the Broncos are trying to go the ball control route once again. I mean, this is a tough Washington front. I don't see Sean. I don't see Sean Payton starting off the year 0-2. I mean, he's had some slower starts in the past with the Saints, but this is tough, especially because it's in Denver. I gotta go with the Broncos here. I should have stuck with LV last week. I don't know why I changed off it. I usually do that with the Broncos, but anyways, moving on to the primetime game, starting off with Sunday Night Football. Dolphins at Patriots. This is a pretty interesting game. I think you got a chess match here. Belichick on one side, Vic Fangio on the other for talking defense. And then for offense, it's Bill O'Brien against Mike McDaniel. So that's interesting. I mean, this Miami offense is downright scary, right? 36 points, 536 total yards. Tua had a great game. Tyreek Hill, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, masterclass, right? One of the more dominating performances you'll see from a wide receiver in today's game. But I think what makes matters worse is Cheetah's so tough to stop. The Dolphins also have Jalen Waddle to kind of pick up the slack if Ill is getting double covered. It's just really tough to handle both of these guys. And I don't think you can discount the Patriots completely, but like, I don't know. The Dolphins, I can't really like bet against that offensive attack right now, even against a Bill Belichick coach defense. Um, Given the fact that this game is in prime time, I wouldn't be shocked if some weird stuff happens, but I'll back Vic Fangio's defense in this one. I'll go with Miami. I just can't bet against him. Simple as that.
I was a lot more impressed with New England than maybe you were, and maybe
No,
some
I
people.
was. I think they have potential. I like what I
They
saw.
looked way better than I thought they would look offensively. I think they were just again a couple, couple split plays away from really winning that game. I mean, yeah, if I know his name is so if Booty just got one extra foot down, I think they probably could have actually won the game. Like they had all the
I don't.
momentum.
I don't fault him for that though. That's a tough
I
catch.
like it's like just a little, no, I'm not fault. I'm just saying like there's little things in the game that honestly the Pats outplayed Philly for about like 3.5 quarters. It was
Yeah.
just the slow start, and then it was literally just that. So I think New England definitely should have won the game. Quick thing on Miami, I they exceeded even like I was super high on them last year, right? And they kind of did what they were supposed to do, went 8-3 with Tua. And they're doing the same thing again. Like Mike McDaniel is so smart. I mean, like just the way they've constructed this team, it's perfect for Tua. And I'm not gonna go out on a limb because I do agree, like Tua is very beneficiary to the scheme, but I can't fault him for what he's doing. He's doing great things with it. So yeah, I think this is going to be a sneaky upset if New England wins it. I think it'll be a lot closer than people think. But I think Miami really lucked out. If this was a game, this is the fact that it's in Boston in September. If this was a Boston game in December or November, I would have gone New England here. But I think they lucked out. I think the weather's going to be a lot better and more favorable for them. Give me Miami. And then last note, Tyreek Hill got 215 yards and 11 catches, and all like literally every back-to-back play he was on the sideline. Can you
Hmm.
imagine like how insane that is? Like this
That's
dude is
insane efficiency.
like that. This dude every given play was making some sort of impact. I mean, and like afterwards he wouldn't even be on the field the next play. Like there was literally a solid like 2 minutes where he was not on the field. I mean that's just insane, right?
Hmm.
Like so yeah, give me Miami to win this one.
All right, Monday Night Football doubleheader. Um, we're gonna start off with the Saints at the Panthers. Who do you got?
Oh man, I think both teams, as we were saying earlier in the episode, like I guess New Orleans didn't really impress me. They did what they kind of needed to do, but they got lucky with the fumble against Tennessee, I think, and then Carolina just got outplayed. Like this is tough because it's at Carolina, and I think again the Saints really shot themselves in the foot. This is contingent on I guess how many receivers Carolina is going to have, but give me the Saints. I think to win this one again. Really think they got lucky though with that Tennessee game, but the receivers look good. Shaheed was great out the slot. Olave obviously did his thing, and then MT had a couple great catches along the sideline. So they've got a solid trio down there, and I do think the run game is going to be a little bit better. Tennessee's always kind of had a good run front, but yeah, Carolina got gashed right defensively against the run. So I'm hoping the Saints can do that with Jamal Williams, and if they're going to start Kendre Miller in the backfield, also whoever they got in there, Jones Jr. But yeah, give me the Saints.
Yeah, I touched on the Saints earlier, but I also think they were really lucky to win. I think Carr fumbled. I think that was a fumble six. I think the Titans should have won that game, but that's neither here nor there. If we're talking about Carolina, statistically, it wasn't the best debut for Bryce Young, but playing against the Saints at home, can he bounce back? It's going to be tough because I think this could end up being a mostly defensive battle again. Even though I do think the Titans should have won that game, I think the Saints defense played really well for what it's worth. Somewhat of a vintage Derek Carr performance. He threw for over 300 yards, but the team scored just 16 points.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked to see another low-scoring game in this one. I will lean slightly in favor of Carolina getting on the board for their first win of the season at home. You took New Orleans, right? Or did you take
Yes.
Carolina?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
That's the
There we
third
go.
game.
We got two differences. There we go. I was beginning to think we were only going to
Three. So we have Ravens, Bengals, Colts,
That's
Texans
right.
in this
That's
game.
right.
So, all right. And
See
now
if I
I will let you start for the final game on the slate. second game on this
I think I should go
weekend
last. Why
doubleheader.
don't you pick it and I can give my details on this game. How
All
about you
right.
go first?
Okay. I mean, I don't know how much of a chance you can really give Kenny Pickett in a matchup like
Okay,
this,
let's not say that.
especially after what we saw this past weekend. I mean, the Steelers were driven into the ground, right? 5 sacks on Pickett from the Niners. The Browns have a pass rush that is almost like equally potent, in my opinion. So I don't think Pickett's going to have a great game against this Cleveland defense. So, I think they could get on a roll here to start the season. I'm going to go with the Browns. I'll leave it short.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. Again, haven't been favored in Pittsburgh since 19. I don't think people realize how insane that is. That's literally 30 straight matchups plus the 2 playoff games that we've played in Pittsburgh that we have not been favored. That's 32 straight. I don't think people like in the NFL, that is just I think that's the most insane stat I've seen in like a minute. Like that is crazy to me. But yeah, that being said, look, I'm very actually scared just because, dude, you really think a Mike Tomlin led team is gonna get bounced like that at home again?
Yeah,
Like,
see, that's tough.
how did
That's
see
tough.
like I'm so mad that happened because I was really hoping that Pittsburgh was gonna win. Then they were on such a high, and then we would kind of come in. But yeah, I'm really worried about that. Not that also. Quick notes: Deontay Johnson is out. Could be several weeks with a hamstring, and then Cam Hayward is also out. But we also lost Jack Conklin. So both teams are not at, I guess, 100%. Maybe the Steelers a little bit hit harder. But as you said, right? Like, yeah, this pass rush is going to be pretty good against the Steelers line. I really hope we can get to Pickett the same way we did to Burrow. A lot of things I saw from the Browns game, I just don't think was as fluky as it could be, right? Obviously, you want to be scared, like, hey, how do you really replicate that sort of defensive performance against one of the best offenses in the league? Pittsburgh's not really that, but they do have the home field working out for them. I think this is a really crucial game. I can't remember the last time the Browns started 2-0. I literally don't think it's in this century. So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna pick Cleveland. And I'll tell you this. I told Srikar this at the beginning of the year too. This 4-game stretch that the Browns have, they play all 3 division opponents, and they have 3 games at home. If they start this one 3-1, I can't tell you how happy it would be as a Browns fan. Like that would be just incredible. But again, if they falter these next 3 games and they do 1-3, it's going to be a really tough climb. So yeah, this is a really important game, and I know the Browns know that, especially with a Week 5 bye. Give me Cleveland.
All right, so if we look at it here, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Colts, Texans, and Saints, Panthers. I think those are all picks that I could change.
I think it's funny because I think I took all 3 road teams, and you took all 3 home teams in those matchups.
Yeah, and the games that I expected us to differ on, we didn't differ on, like the Tennessee Chargers game, Jacksonville, Kansas City. Like,
Yeah.
I think we were really like in sync for this week.
I think I've been rubbing off on this guy, fellas. So,
I wouldn't say that, but I mean,
well, all right. Well, I guess we kind of got through everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end, all our links are down below. We've been the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast. We will see you guys next time.